excited to get this 2025 season underway. And, we haven't met since we named captains. And, I was proud of our guys that voted those 6 guys to be named captain. We have leadership across the board. And that's something that I'm really proud of, is that, not only those 6 captains of Drake Bowen, Billy Sherrill, Don Schuler, Will Pauling, Emil Wagner, and Donovan Heinisch, they are the ones that will represent our team as captains. But we have leadership, vocal leadership, really through multiple guys on our team. And so it's something that we knew we would need. And I've been really pleased on the leadership from multiple guys in our program. We obviously named a starting quarterback last week, C.J. Carr. I think C.J. and Kenny both improved in training camp, and that's what you want out of a competition. You want both guys to find ways to elevate, and I believe they both did. And I had to make a difficult decision, and I did. And as I told both of them, we're going to need both of them this year. Like that, you're going to need both of them, and they both have to be mature enough to handle that decision and understand they're chasing their full potential. No matter if you're named starting quarterback or you're the backup quarterback, you have to continue to work. That's not the ultimate goal, is to be named starters, to be the best version of you. And both of them will. Both of them gone to work. I'm looking forward to this first game and what CJ will do and leading our offense. And I'm excited for how our offense will continue to move forward. As we get into Miami, very, very talented football team coming off a 10-win season. They're well coached. I got a lot of respect for Coach Cristobal through our previous conversations that we've had in the past, and just seeing the success that he's had in terms of acquiring talent, developing that talent, and really producing a extremely good football team. And so I think as I watch them, they're probably developed a little bit like I view our teams in terms of being O-line, D-line driven. Their offensive line returning 4 starters, and they got the center that transferred in from TCU who has experience. Their D-line, I think, the number 3 and number 4, Bain, and I can't remember the other guy's name, but 3 and 4 are as good as you'll see coming off the edge. They'll move them inside. The depth of their D-line is impressive. And then you got Carson Beck, who is as experienced, talented, played in big games as anybody will see, as any quarterback in the country. We obviously evaluated him tremendously last year as we got ready for Georgia, and he is a extremely good quarterback and makes good decisions, fast decisions. And so I won't foresee them taking a step back offensively. And, their skill on both sides will be, as explosive as we'll see. They have a lot of young guys in the wide receivers room, but then they've gotten some experienced transfers. And then defensively in their DB's room, I think they have about 6 transfers, but experienced. One of their corners is a freshman All-American. That's a good player. And, the running backs room's deep. I can go through their whole roster. We've had plenty of time to really evaluate that team. And so it's going to be a great challenge for our program, week 1. We've spent some time really looking at the rivalry of this game, which dates back to, I think, 1955, looking at some of the great wins by Notre Dame, but also some of the defeats. We were 0-6 the last 6 times we played down there. And so we know the challenge. We've been to Hard Rock Stadium, but the environment we know will be completely different than it was for the Orange Bowl. And so we'll be prepared for that. And we know the challenge that is at hand. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
Starting on the right side, Tom Noy.
From what you know about your football team, what kind of confidence does it give you that whatever challenge they're going to see Sunday night, they'll be able to answer it?
Yeah, I'm confident we will. You put each side of the ball in challenging situations in training camp to see how it responds. I'm confident in our leadership. I'm confident in our coaches to make the adjustments necessary to any week one game that you're going to have. And so, I think as you look at both sides of the ball, there is some similarities in terms of some of the things we do offensively and some of the things their offense coordinator has done in the past. And same thing defensively. There are some similarities, but it's going to be a game of adjustments. I think you're going to have to be able to take care of the football, right? And on defense, you got to try to create some takeaways. We want to be able to run the ball and stop the run. We know that. I think that's an offense that runs the ball well, and we got to stop the run. And we're going to have to make our adjustments, but I'm confident we will.
Since being named the starter, what has CJ done to maybe even elevate his game even more than what he had done up until last week?
Yeah, I think there's a natural human element where when you're in competition with somebody, there's a little hesitation to truly just lead as the quarterback should lead, be the leader of that offense. Both of them has done it in fall camp, but I think now there's direction, right? There is no confusion on who's going to be the quarterback to start game one. And so you're going to see that chemistry continue to build. But I know the guys on our offense, they're confident in both quarterbacks because they was built through camp, right? That both quarterbacks went with the ones, and but it's great for, I think, our whole program just to have direction moving forward.
Front row on your left, Tyler Horka.
You mentioned the quarterback decision was a difficult one. Curious what went into it and how CJ eventually separated himself.
Yeah, I hesitate saying this is why I made the decision, because what I don't want to do is look as like a positive for one guy and a negative for another. I think statistically is close to any quarterback competition I've ever been a part of. And I was looking for that to be the reason to make a decision, and it wasn't clear. They were both really, really good statistically. And I just had to make a difficult decision. And then I had to trust my gut a little bit. What I felt like we needed going into week one versus opponent, who will be able to handle that decision the right way. I think all those things played into my decision. But that's kind of it. That's a little bit of gray answer.
That's totally fine. You've had two very experienced quarterbacks before this in Sam and Riley. Now you go into a game, you alluded to it with Carson Beck, where you don't have the quarterback experience advantage. I'm curious what goes into game planning for a game like that, and maybe how you're treating it a little bit differently now than when you had Riley.
Yeah, you're going to, Riley had some growing pains, but you're going to have some growing pains with any first-time starter. And we have to understand that. We can't expect the quarterback, CJ, to be perfect. We know there are some ups and downs that come with that position, that come with being a first-time starter. We got to protect him. We got to protect him in the pass game, right, in terms of our O-line, but also protect him in the decisions we have him make. We can't put too much on his plate because he's got to be able to handle the environment. He's got to be able to handle the crowd, and he's got to be able to handle being his first game versus a big-time opponent. We've got to be able to run the ball. That's something that we know we have to be able to do. And defensively, we got to be able to help our quarterback. We got to get takeaways. We got to be really good on defense and, make sure this isn't a shootout.
Fourth row on your right, Drew Mentok.
Christian Gray talked about how after giving up that play against Ohio State, his teammates kind of rallied around him and kind of the significant impact that's had on him and just his confidence. I'm curious, how important is that to the culture you're trying to build here and seeing that reaction? And have you seen him playing freer or what impact that might have on his play in practice?
Yeah, I think Christian is a reflection of our program of young people. I even think back to the USC game where he had some PIs early in the game, and you saw on the sidelines those guys, speaking confidence into him. You're a dang good football player, right? They try you again, make him pay, and he gets a pick six, the second to last drive of that game. And it's the same thing. I mean, you in the Ohio State game giving up that big play, but you know what? That sometimes you got to lose to win. I always say that. Sometimes you got to have some negative things happen to you so you can grow. And Christian is an extremely good player. That's a reflection of the brotherhood, right? Is that we're going to challenge each other. We're going to evaluate everything we do inside our home, but we're also going to support you, especially outside of our home. And Christian continues to get better. Some of those negative things that happened to him, that last play against Ohio State, that's going to make him a better football player. And he's really done a good job this fall camp.
And where is Jordan Botello in terms of his recovery process? What is he doing in practice? And do you have an updated timeline for when he might be back in game action?
He'll be available this week.
Second row on your left, Tyler James.
Marcus, it's sort of become routine for you to start a season on the road against a ranked opponent. What do you get out of a test like that at the start of a season that maybe you don't with maybe some lesser opponents?
Yeah, I remember kind of talking about this last year, and that you're guaranteed 12. And to overlook any opponent is a disservice to the game of football. And our players would never do that. But when you have a huge matchup Sunday night versus a great opponent, I think it raises the anticipation. There's no lack of motivation. I hope there never is, but especially when you play an opponent like Miami on the road, our guys are extremely driven, focused, motivated, and hopefully more than anything, you have some great practices as you lead up to that game.
We talk a lot about Jeremiah Love, and rightfully so, but Jadarian Price has done a lot at Notre Dame as well. How would you describe his importance to this offense and how that has maybe been borne out this preseason?
Oh, extremely important. He is as complete of a back as anybody in our running backs room, and he's done an excellent job of taking care of the football. His natural God-given abilities are, well seen in terms of what he does on the field, but the work he's put in to become a dependable blocker in protection, to use him in the pass game is areas of growth that I've seen in Jadarian. And again, he is an extremely selfless person. He's a guy that could demand 20, 30 touches a game. You're not going to get that. Not at Notre Dame, not with the running backs room we have, but he's a guy that makes the most of his opportunities. He's a team-first guy, and I'm looking forward to this year he's going to have.
On the right side, Tim Priester.
Coach, we've all seen the physical capabilities of C.J. Carr, but what about some of the, non-physical stuff, the pre-snap and coverage recognition and setting protections, things like that?
Yeah, he's as intelligent of a football player you'll be around. Works extremely hard in his preparation. He is a guy that just studies the game endlessly to find a way to improve. He's, and this isn't saying he's different than some other guys but I'm talking about C.J. Carr. He's a guy that's very confident. At some points, you may be a little bit overconfident, but you want that in your quarterback. You want the quarterback to say, I want the ball in my hands every play when the game is on the line, and I believe that I'm going to make the right decision. And so he has a lot of those intangibles outside of the physical skill set that many people see that you want your quarterback to have.
And what kind of performance do you envision from him that's a winning performance in your first game against Miami, in addition to protecting the football?
Yeah, you want him to make good decisions, right? Is that every play can't be a touchdown. Every play, it can't be a bomb. Trust the game plan. Trust what you see. Be who you are and win this play. I don't want to put a numerical expectation on him. Be the best version of C.J. Carr. Make those guys around you better. That's something that he does really well. He raises the play of those guys around him through his words, through his actions, through his competitive spirit. Be that guy. And at the end of the day, don't just win this play, right? Not the last one, just win this one right in front of us.
Front row on the left, Jack Sobel.
Hey, Coach Freeman. A couple depth chart questions here. Right guard, Gerby Lambert or Sullivan Apsher. Is that a situation where you're just not sure who's going to start, or could they both be involved in the game?
They both could be involved in the game plan. We have to make a final decision here, probably after our Tuesday and Wednesday practice, who's going to go out first, but it could be a situation you might see them both.
And then on the other side, Bryce Young listed as a starter at defensive end. I mean, we've all seen what he's capable of from a physical perspective, but how has he, grown as a football player throughout the offseason and fall camp to earn that spot over a couple pretty good players?
Yeah, we're going to need them all. I'll make sure I say it. We are so deep at the end position. I'm talking both ends. You're probably about 5 to 6 deep. And, with getting Botello back, he's going to help us. You got Logan Thomas, you got Burnham Jr., you got Boubacar, you got Bryce Young, and those 6 guys, you'll see them. And, it's been good to see Bryce. Physically, he's gotten bigger. He's a big man, he's got good genetics, but he's a big man. And, what you've seen him over training camp is really handle his weight and use it in the right way, being a powerful football player, not just an edge rusher. He's now really enhanced his game to be a complete defensive end in the run and the pass game. And so he's getting better. And he's a guy that came in as a freshman was really freaking good, and he's continuously getting better.
Front row on your right, John Bryce.
Hey, Marcus. Tyler sort of referenced the starting on the road a lot. It's actually all you know since you've been at Notre Dame, going all the way back to your defensive coordinator season. Like, this is the 5th year in a row that Notre Dame has opened away from home. Is there anything you particularly like about that or relish? Is it something, I know you're not controlling it, but is it something that you've gotten to at this point that you maybe embrace it?
I embrace it.
Or is Pete mad at you?
I embrace it. If you're asking would I rather start at home, I think you always would rather play at home no matter when you get the opportunity. But, there's something about going on the road, man. It's you against the world. It's, your group, right? There's no distractions. It's just you guys. And you're taking your show on the road and versus a great opponent at night. What a way to start college football season. It's something we enjoy, we embrace. That's what you go to Notre Dame for. That's why you come to coach at Notre Dame, to play in games like this throughout the year, but especially week 1. Night game, prime time, everybody's watching you versus a heck of an opponent. That's what any competitor wants.
And then as you get ready for Sunday's game and you go into this, what do you feel like you know about your team that you didn't know July 31, and what's the next thing you need to see out of your team?
Yeah, I was wondering where our leadership was going to come from, and as I said to start the press conference, it's come from multiple positions, multiple people, multiple different age groups. I'm really pleased on the leadership of this team, the ability to handle negative things, both sides of the ball. When you go good on good, you're going to have some negative things happen. And the ability to have leadership in the negative times is something that I've been extremely pleased. Anybody can lead when things are good, but when things are tough and things aren't going well, I've seen some leadership from our players, which is extremely good to see. And so I'm confident no matter what the environment will be, what the score will be, they're going to be able to handle it. And I've often said, our greatest challenge won't be handling adversity because we're competitors. We got to make sure we can handle success within a game, right? I'm not talking about the season. I'm talking about within a game. We got to handle the good, and that's something that I think we'll be able to do.
Third row on your left, Pete Byrne.
Hey, Coach. As you prepare to face Miami's offense, obviously you've seen Beck play at Georgia, and you've seen what Miami did last year with another very talented quarterback. I'm sure how you weigh one versus the other as you try to anticipate what you think they might do. And you mentioned adjustments, but are they perhaps more important in game this week than normal?
Yeah. Listen, Carson Beck is as good as I've seen when, scouting an opponent. Cam Ward is, you gotta remind yourself, okay, you're watching the scheme, but I think they're probably different in terms of what type of quarterback. They both got great arms. They both make good decisions. Carson Beck can escape if he needs to, but they have some people last year that's not on their team this year. And so, part of how you game plan, a big part of it is schematics, right? In terms of what you're going to see schematically and how you can defend or attack it schematically. But the second part of that is one-on-one mismatches. You're going to try to create a mismatch so your guy can beat the opponent. And so that's the challenge where you're looking at the Miami film for scheme, but not everybody is going to be there this first game. And so they're going to do what they do, right? Like, at the end of the day, your identity offensively is your identity. But you're also going to make sure that you play to the strengths of your personnel. And so we have to be able to have a plan for what we think we'll see schematically, but also really after the first series or two, be able to adapt to say, okay, what is this offense trying to do to the defense?
And as you think about doing that, you talked about your D-line and your edges earlier. How important when you're playing against a talented quarterback is it to find a way to generate pressure just with your front four?
It's a great challenge when you're facing an offensive line like we're going to see. Now, our O-line's a good offensive line, and our defense every day has to go against our offensive line and try to create pressure with four guys. And so it'll be no different as we get ready to play on Sunday. We have to be able to generate a pass rush with four guys. And if we can't, then it's going to be a long night, but we also have to find ways to, okay, maybe we have to add a fifth, maybe add a sixth, maybe add a seventh. And so I think getting pressure on a quarterback is vital for us to have success defensively.
Front row on your right, Pete Sampson.
Marcus, what did Kenny Minchie show you in camp that made the decision hard, that it took it all the way to a gut decision?
His decision-making, his arm strength, his leadership in his own way. You talk about a guy that's probably gained more trust from the start of spring ball to now than maybe anybody in our program. And he is a really, really he's good enough to be the starting quarterback at Notre Dame, right? And it was a tough decision because like I said earlier, the statistics were very, very similar. And at the end of the day, I had to throw it out the window and make it on other factors.
You'd mentioned sort of leadership and confidence there about, you've been through tough times and adversity. Would you create this offseason to test that? How did you sort of try to monitor that and see like, okay, we're good here? Yeah,
I think you try to be intentional about putting both sides of the ball in difficult situations at certain times. And then you're aware when things don't go well for a certain side of the ball. I want to see, right, who's speaking up, who's getting the guys up, who's the one taking the leadership role. And probably wasn't as good as I wanted it to be early in camp, and that's where you as a coach have to interject and say, these are the moments where we need leadership. And once I made that a point of emphasis, you really saw that leadership grow. It could be a play, it could be a series, it could be a situation, but you really saw that grow throughout camp.
Staying on the right side, second row, Chuck Freeman.
At tight end, obviously, you've got Eli, but where have you seen the growth of the rest of that tight end room during fall camp?
Yeah, you've seen a guy, Ty Washington, I didn't know much about him before he got here, but to see what he's done and the growth he's made in fall camp has been extremely pleasing. Jack Larson is a guy that, from last year to this year, have seen him grow physically, grow mentally to a point that he is a dependable person. I think you had a guy like Kevin Bauman who was a mature guy, been in the program for 6 years, and when he all of a sudden had to retire, you saw that the younger guys or the new guys, Ty's not a young guy, had an increased role. And I've seen a lot of growth out of that group. Coach Denbrock spends an enormous amount of time of developing those guys in terms of the run and the pass game. And, I've really, really seen a lot of growth in those younger guys.
Front row on your right, Eric Hansen.
Hey, Coach, you spent a lot of time with Leonard Moore in New York, and I realize he's not a captain, but he just feels like he's a guy that could really help younger players. What do you see in him as a person, as a player, that makes everybody around him better?
Yeah, if I would have gave maybe the option for a guy in her second year to be a captain, I'm not so certain that Leonard wouldn't have been named a captain. I didn't give the first or second year guys the opportunity to be voted upon. But as I mentioned earlier, you talk about leadership outside of those 6 guys that have been named captain. Leonard Moore, Jeremiah Love, those guys they are leading in a way that they're in their own way of making the rooms of those guys they surround themselves with better. I see Leonard coaching those 2 freshmen, Dallas Golden and Mark Zachary, just as much as Coach Mickens. And when Coach Mickens has to focus on 5 guys at once, well, guess what? There's some other guys that need coached, and you see Leonard and Christian both take a big role in helping those young guys through the good plays and the bad plays, right? And probably more than anything, when they get beat, you're going to get beat, especially playing corner. You got to have somebody build that confidence in you. And so Leonard's done a tremendous job doing that. And the other part is he's practicing at a high level, right? If you can't practice poorly and expect to be a leader. Like, he's practicing at a high level. He studies the game, taking care of his body, and he's doing a great job for us.
My follow-up question is about Jordan Botello, and I know you weren't here in 2020 when he first got here, but he was kind of a 15-yard penalty waiting to happen. And yet, in this offseason, he's come back from 2 really tough injuries, and I'm sure there's a lot of work involved in that. Where did he turn the corner? Where did you see him turn the corner, and what does it mean to your team that he worked that hard to get back for this opener?
Yeah, I think of the growth. I save my opinions on people for the time that I'm around them. You know, I don't really put much into what has happened in the past. And I remember in 21 meeting with Jordan, and he was a talented young person at that time that wasn't a complete football player person yet. And the maturity that he has truly displayed in these 4 years has been tremendous. And part of maturity is how do you respond to negative things? How do you respond to not playing as much as you want early? How do you respond to being injured? How do you attack rehab? How do you make sure you're prepared when you don't even know if you're going to play? All right, we didn't expect Jordan to be back for not week 1, and the work he's put in to put himself in a position physically and mentally to help this football team shows you his commitment to this football team, but to put in the work to help this team. And so he was a guy that was considering, I don't know if he was going to come back this year. I thought he maybe tried to go to the NFL. When he made the decision to come back, like, he is a mature individual. I got a chance to spend some time with his mom, who's a Korean woman, and really enjoyed spending time with her. And I'm going to shout her out. You know, us Koreans got to stick together a little bit, man. And she was here in the summer as he was rehabbing. And, I think there's a little bit to that nurturing that a mother provides their son or their child. And I think all those things helped him, his maturity, the people around him, the belief in his coaches, Coach Washington, and the belief that we've instilled in him, that all factors into him being ready to go.
Last question opportunity for Coach today, up the middle, Sean Stiers.
Hey, Marcus, you touched a little bit on Kenny, and what you saw from him in camp. I'm curious what you've seen from him this past week, since delivering him the news.
Exactly what I thought it was going to be. There's a disappointment that is a natural human reaction that any competitor is going to have when, they're not named starter. And he was disappointed. But I knew after a day or so, he was going to use it to make him a better version of Kenny. And that's what I've seen. He's come out and he's practiced, he's prepared in a way that you expect Kenny Minchey to do. And that's a sign of maturity, right? Like, I didn't expect him to be happy with my decision, but I did expect after a day or so to see the maturity of Kenny Minchey in terms of being able to go back to work, understanding delayed gratification. That's what it's delayed gratification, right? Is that your job is to reach your full potential, and there's things you can do deliberately. You can use this as a motivator. You can use multiple different things as a motivator to put the work in, but he will be ready if his number is called, and I knew that when I made this decision.
And then your interior defensive line, the tackle positions, you've got some guys with varying degrees of experience and previous roles. What have you seen from those guys going into a game like this, where you expect that the guys on the other side are going to want to be pretty physical, that they're ready for the that task?
Yeah, that defensive tackle position was probably the biggest question mark I had coming into training camp, and has probably given me the most conviction of a position group as any on our team. And credit Coach Washington first for keeping that group together, driven. But there's multiple guys. You hear about as Riley Mills and Howard Cross, and there's multiple guys in that room that are going to play and have played and practiced as well as any position group in fall camp. And they're all different ages. There's transfers. There's a guy like Jason Onye that I've spoke about previously, that it's a great reminder of development. He's playing as well at that position as anybody I've seen since I've been here. I mean, that's a high compliment for him, but that's a credit to the work he's put in. Donnie Heinisch, right? And I told him wearing number 41, he's got big shoes to fill because of his brother. And I came in when his brother was here. And I had 1 year with Kurt. Don't tell Kurt I said this, but Donnie's making me forget about the older 41, which is what Kurt would want, right? Kurt would want that. And Donnie's practicing as well as anybody. Gabe Rubio, Jared Dawson. I was a transfer coming into a new place, learning a new scheme, new expectations. His first practice to where he's at now, it's been tremendous. It's been tremendous in terms of being able to handle the way we practice, the expectations, what we want out of him. And so I speak with a lot of confidence when I talk about that defensive tackle group. I think we're going to see some big things out of them.
Coach, thank you so much for your time.